When we enter the US workforce, one of the big things we're taught not to talk about is religion. Yet, according to the research, it is an important thing to most people from Africa, South Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. If you or your family is from one of those places, as mine is, this video is for you because we're going to explore whether there is a religion or religions that help versus hinder our financial growth personally. We're going to do this by looking at the roughly 3,000 billionaires alive in our world today to see if there may be a specific religion or religions, or maybe the lack thereof, that they espouse. What you may not know is that many of the billionaires are actually immigrants. And although I knew that, what I don't know is if there may be some secrets inadvertently or subconsciously passed down through their religion that they took on either culturally or devotedly. And if so, maybe this could tell us if there are certain values we could extract, apply, and maximize in our own lives regardless of the faith we profess. In this video, we're going to look at 3 things: where these billionaires came from and or where they are going, which religion is most common amongst the richest immigrants in the world that we know of, and lastly, whether our religion is keeping us broke or propelling our financial growth.
Your word's good enough for me.
Alright, so what you're looking at right now is a list I can't take full pleasure in being proud of because most of this data was sourced from Forbes, who had a team of journalists that identified about 3,000 billionaires all around the world and collated their age, net worth, industry, source of wealth, organization, citizenship, gender, marital status, how much children they have, their education, lots of details. But what a lot of people don't care about, I suppose, is where these people came from. And I'm very interested in this because I am very much a proud Bahamian. I am very much indebted to the community I grew up in and was surrounded by, that had a large influence on who I am today. And so I like to think that similarly, where people come from, sometimes it can give us an indication of their upbringing and or maybe how we would want to raise the next generation. But I digress a little bit. All that to say, one of the things I did take a look at is their birthplace and determine if they were immigrant. This was an exercise that thankfully ChatGPT and Gemini assisted with, but even with their help, to be honest, it wasn't the greatest. But we still got a lot of data. Everything in black is more or less from Forbes. Everything is in blue is from me. And I would have highlighted a few things to indicate, okay, who are those immigrants on this list. And just gonna scroll down. Maybe I should have gone a little bit slower, but I actually want to highlight this, how so many people on this list, it's like, who are these persons? Male, female, it's across the spectrum, which is great. It's not just a list of, actually a lot of people are from or a part of the US, but this is a global analysis, which I like and appreciate. So I'll share this data with you, so I won't spend too much time looking into it, but I do want to highlight a few key things. Let's look at the data points. There were roughly 3,000 billionaires, like I said, and at the time they accounted for roughly $14 trillion of all the wealth around the world. Of the billionaires, a minority were identified as immigrants, but nonetheless, to me, that's still kind of wild. And with amongst those minorities, I mean, $1 trillion in net worth collectively, that's pretty amazing. Um, but even more perhaps amazing is that 813 of those 3,000 billionaires were US citizens. And when you get a chance to look at this data, you will see that most of the world's billionaires are citizens of the US, for whatever that's worth. And among those US billionaires, how many of them are immigrants? 38. 38 identified. You should be surprised that there's any. But let's look at that in terms of how much wealth they bring. And so, to me, this isn't completely unexpected. However, this may derail a certain narrative that immigrants take away, when really they're contributing to the larger picture, at least in the US. This can be observed as the case. Now, some unexpected takeaways. Let's see here. Extreme wealth is not as concentrated or inaccessible as you might think. And one of the reasons we can make this conclusion is because the richest billionaires haven't even accumulated more than 5% of all the billionaires' wealth. So even with us normal people, if you will, in the mix, their wealth is so much less. So all that to say, there's room for me and there's room for you. Over 70 countries can claim to have at least one billionaire. And with that, I guess I want to go down a list real quick to see, could you spot if you're from another country? Oh man, this list is so long, so many billionaires. Could you spot your country in this list of billionaires? There were some names on here, like, I think, no offense, St. Nevis and Kitts, but I was surprised to see another billionaire from the Caribbean on this list. So shout out to the Caribbean. Love to see us. All right, back to the key takeaways. So the next one I want to call out here is that Bruce Wayne's solitary life doesn't resemble an actual billionaire's. I used to think growing up, loneliness is a key. Stoicism is a key to get wealthy, be rich, I don't know, ball like Batman. But that's not the case based on the data. At least 60% of billionaires are married. 60% at least have children. One person on here has 22 kids listed, which is impressive. Less than 10% of billionaires are divorced or have chosen singleness. This is unique to me. Now, going to a more serious note, and this relates more so to the number one Fortune 500 money playbook key that I shared in a previous video. And to me, it's emphasized through this observation right here, that the world's riches are not owned by the young and famous based on this data set. Because the average age of billionaires is 66 years old. Only 3% of these billionaires I and our AI was able to identify their birthplace. The majority of their organizations are not household names, and almost a third of their education levels are completely unknown. So to work with a more, detailed data set, what I did was extract the known immigrants
and analyze, okay, yeah, their birthplace, yeah, their immigrant status, but also what is their religion? So I did that for the top 75% in terms of wealth, for the top billionaire immigrants. And I also did it for another key number in here, which involves where these billionaires are from. And we'll get there. And I'm showing you a sneak peek so you may know what I'm getting into. But I'm going to move on to our key findings tab. So, this is what at least what I've been waiting for, what I'm most interested in. Where are these billionaires coming from? And where are they going? So, the data shows that most of the world's billionaire immigrants are actually coming from India, and they're moving to the US. Let me highlight that for you. And what is the most common belief system amongst the richest immigrants then? Well, by number of billionaires, which most of the immigrant billionaires are of Indian descent, Hinduism is the most common belief system. It's just the facts. By net worth, however, Christianity appears to be the most common belief system. This is the data here. The yellow highlight is essentially the different billionaire immigrants who also happen to be Indian, and their religion, let's see. And then the list of the top or the richest billionaires and their cultural religion, and or what, according to my research, they seem to lean towards. So it's not like, it's not a clean sweep, so to speak. But we have to do something with this information, which is answer the question: are our beliefs hindering or helping our personal finances? And this is not a question I can answer for you, but it is a question I'm asking myself as I continue to be exposed to how the largest stewards of capital, i.e., the Fortune 500, manages their money, and what wealth strategies they apply that may be congruent or incompatible with my faith. Now, the hard truth, though, I won't just kind of leave you there. The hard truth is that no devotees of a single religion have a monopoly on building wealth. However, Hinduism and Christianity may legislate certain behaviors or mindsets that are compatible with making lots of money. This reality, to be honest, is kind of offensive or uncomfortable, maybe, to me as a Christian who might think, oh, if I believe in my God, do the things my holy book tells me to do, I will be rich and prosperous on this earth. That's a myth, according to the data. And in fact, my holy text doesn't even tell me that. But in our zeal and our passion towards what we are shaped by, we can kind of come up with certain myths. And this, unfortunately, is one of them that, for better or for worse, has been busted, in my opinion. Would love to hear comments on that. Next, as a CPA currently working inside the Fortune 500, I've observed that the number one money rule that they use is supported by all major religions. You want to know what that number one money rule is? Go check out the video, probably linked below. This is simply to say that Most religions hold keys passed down from generations that involve wisdom, that involve proven, tried techniques that were beneficial years, centuries, millennia ago that are still applicable today. And these are the things that I want to revisit and or rediscover through this channel. So with that, I hope you can like, subscribe, and comment so we could revolutionize financial education together. Thanks for connecting with the Gateway CPA. And what's my last line? Build up your pockets and your soul. This is what we're about. Hope you enjoy this. Thanks for your time.